Welcome to episode 33 of Project 250, a weekly chronicle of the people, places, and events of the American Revolution in the order they occurred. So, without further ado, here's what was happening 250 years ago this week, August 17th to 23rd, 1775. At the start of the week, in Trenton, New Jersey, the New Jersey Provincial Congress, on the last day of its first session, approved the efforts of Robert Erskine from Bergen County to arm and equip, at his own expense, an independent company of foot militia and ordered that Erskine be commissioned as captain of the company. On August 18th, in Charleston, South Carolina, a free black man named Thomas Jeremiah was hanged and his body was burned. Jeremiah, a slaveholder, harbor pilot, and man of considerable wealth, was convicted in a slave court of having violated the Slave Act of 1740 for his alleged involvement in a British plot to employ slaves against rebellious colonists. Before his execution, Jeremiah told his accusers that God's judgment would one day overtake them for shedding his innocent blood. Despite his conviction, the true extent of Jeremiah's involvement in the plot, if any, remains unclear. On August 19th, George Washington wrote to Lieutenant General Thomas Gage, in response to Gage's August 13th letter, in which Gage accused Washington's men of mistreating British soldiers and civilian loyalists. Washington denied these allegations, stating that he had conducted a strict inquiry into the matter and found that Gage's accusations had, quote, not the least foundation in truth. Indeed, Gage's men had been treated with the tenderness due to fellow citizens and brethren, and even loyalists, whom Washington condemned as execrable parasites, had been protected from the fury of a justly enraged people. The following day, at his headquarters in Cambridge, George Washington wrote to General Philip Schuyler, the commander of the Northern Department, concerning the upcoming invasion of Canada. Specifically, he addressed Benedict Arnold's proposed diversionary expedition against Quebec via the Kennebec River in present-day Maine. Washington cautioned Schuyler that while news of an invasion might provoke Canadians to abandon their neutrality, he hoped that with proper precautions and strict discipline, any hostile feelings could be mitigated. Having consulted with several Canadians who supported the invasion, Washington would wait for Schuyler's input before making a final decision. If Schuyler favored proceeding with the campaign, he should provide Washington with detailed information regarding the number of American troops involved, the attitude of the Canadians and the Indian tribes regarding an American incursion, and the disposition of British forces in Canada, including the number of troops at Quebec, the presence of warships, and any other relevant information. Washington assured Schuyler that
not a moment's time is to be lost in the preparation for this enterprise, if the advices from you favor it.
On that same day, Washington approved Arnold's plan to attack Quebec on the condition that General Schuyler, the Northern Department commander, also approved the plan. Also on August 20th, George Washington wrote to his cousin, Lund Washington, about the challenges he faced in imposing order and discipline on the unruly militia forces at Boston, whose martial reputation far exceeded their actual abilities. Even the higher ranks failed to meet Washington's standards.
Their officers, generally speaking, are the most indifferent kind of people I ever saw. I have already broke one colonel and 5 captains for cowardice, and for drawing more pay and provisions than they had men in their companies. There is 2 more colonels, now under arrest, and to be tried for the same offenses. In short, they are by no means such troops, in any respect, as you are led to believe of them from the accounts which are published. But I need not make myself enemies among them by this declaration, although it is consistent with truth.
As for the enemy, the British showed
no inclination to quit their own works of defense, and as it is almost impossible for us to get to them, we do nothing but watch each other's motions all day at the distance of about a mile, every now and then picking of a straggler when we can catch them without their entrenchments. In return, they often attempt to cannonade our lines to no other purpose than the waste of a considerable quantity of powder to themselves, which we should be very glad to get.
Meanwhile, in London, on August 21st, Richard Penn and Arthur Lee, envoys from the Continental Congress, submitted a copy of the Olive Branch petition to the Colonial Secretary, William Legge, Lord Dartmouth. 2 days later, on August 23rd, King George flatly rejected the Olive Branch petition and instead issued his Proclamation of Rebellion, formally known as the Proclamation for Suppressing Rebellion and Sedition, which declared that the 13 colonies were in open and avowed rebellion, and ordered
all our officers and all our obedient and loyal subjects to use their utmost endeavors to withstand and suppress such rebellion.
In taking this action, King George III was essentially declaring war on his own colonies. And that's the way it was 250 years ago this week. If you enjoyed this video, please tell a friend. And if you like what you see on this channel, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. You can also check us out on Facebook and Twitter, or X, as well as on Substack. Thank you for watching.